Where does it go? What's your price target for Bitcoin?
So I think in the short term, we're going to see one of two cases. The first case is we're going to have some sideways action between 110 and downwards to 80, and we'll see some chop. The second scenario, and that will come either in the short term or in the medium term, is once we have the Bitcoin Act, which is currently under consideration, passed, where the U.S. government will be buying Bitcoin into its reserves, as well as other countries and other corporates for their treasury assets as well, we could see a 500K Bitcoin or $1 million Bitcoin. The sky is really the limit here.
And why? What would drive it there?
So Bitcoin is inherently a scarce asset. You only have 21 million Bitcoins. And the Bitcoin Act, for example, proposes buying 200,000 Bitcoins a year, which would significantly drive up the price as there's a finite supply.
And what about use cases? I was talking about this with a guest on a previous show on Trading 360, just in terms of, President Trump, President-elect Trump has talked about, the one rule of Bitcoin is you don't sell your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But do you expect more people to actually start using it in terms of an actual currency?
For sure. So I don't think that Bitcoin is inherently the type of currency that you buy a cup of coffee with. There are places where people do that. So, for example, El Salvador, which I've written about extensively, they use the Lightning Network for those types of smaller transactions. But you don't necessarily need it for that. That's not the prime use case. The prime use case of Bitcoin is a store of value. So when we think about money, there's usually three characteristics that people ascribe to money, the economists ascribe to money, and that is method of exchange, unit of account, and store of value. So there's thousands of methods of exchange around the world. Every currency around the world is a method of exchange. Unit of account, however, there's only a handful. There's the dollar, there's the euro, there's the yen, and now there's Bitcoin. But when you talk about store of value, none of those things are considered stores of value because of their inflationary properties. So if you're a high net worth individual living in the US, you're not storing your value in a case of cash. You're storing your value in buildings and businesses and sports teams and gold and now in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is that similar type of property. It's just digital, which makes it that much easier to move, to sell, to trade, to transfer it across borders. So it's basically it's property, but improved.
And how much of a portfolio do you think should be allocated to cryptocurrency at this point? And has that changed now that we have a very pro-crypto president coming into office?
Absolutely. I think if you don't have at least 10% of your investment account in Bitcoin or Bitcoin-related assets, you're going to fall significantly behind.
Yes, a $7 trillion asset manager is openly saying if you don't have at least 10% of your assets in Bitcoin, you're going to fall significantly behind. So let's do some math here. 90 trillion times 10%, that's a 90 trillion of hypothetical demand. 90 trillion times a 6x multiplier equals a $540 trillion market capitalization, 25 million per Bitcoin. Shout out to Luke for that. If you don't understand the vitality of this woman's statements, you're missing the boat. And with that, what's happening in Crypto Crew? Sean's coming back at you with another cryptocurrency video.
Hey guys, sorry for the quick interruption, but if you're interested in trading MicroStrategy options, any other stock out there, Bitcoin, Solana, or any other crypto out there, you can now do that on MooMoo. And if you sign up with our affiliate link, which we pinned in the comment section, also in the description below, when you sign up and deposit any amount, you're going to receive up to 20 free stocks, and each one of these stocks could be valued at up to $2,000. So make sure to sign up with MooMoo. Go get that free money. Now let's go ahead and get back to the video.
And to piggyback on that, if you want some free stuff, who doesn't like some free stuff? Get your free stocks, each valued up to $2,000 at MooMoo. If you want to join the Bitcoin Bros Club, right here's the Patreon link as well. Current time is recording, Bitcoin's coming in at 95.6K. And what do we see in these charts? Let's take a look at the charts. We'll take a little bit deep dive into the charts. So do we feel like the bull market's over with? No. And why do we say that? Could we get lower price action? Yes, but we're still putting in higher highs and higher lows. The trend's your friend to the end. And since the bottom of the bear market, way back here at 16,000, this trend has been intact. As you see, we haven't came back down and retested certain levels, but if we do come down to any level, it could be down to the 60 range, and that'll still be put in a higher low. Not saying we're going to do that. There's major support at this 70 range, but just looking at this upwards trend line. Now you can draw this trend multiple different ways. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can draw this a little bit better to scale. We can probably say that this is a trend to pay attention to. See, we fall through it, come back up, retest, bounce up, fall through it, come back up, and then retest. So we could come back down to the low 90s range. If we come back down immediately, it'd be like down to the low 80s range, but then come back up, put a new high in. So that could be just what this trend's doing. We sort of establish a trend, come up, fall through it, break up, retest, new highs. Come back down, fall through it, retest, new highs. Come back down, fall through it. We haven't had that retest yet. That retest, once again, is down. If it happens next week, it'd be around the 84 range. If we see that continuation to the downside, and that'll be the retest. We fell through here, retest, and that'll be the bump and run to the upside. So that's be something that you can pay attention to. Also look at these moving averages. We're not too overextended yet, meaning the distance between the 50 and the 20 is not too overextended. When we start to see massive overextension in this and these levels, that's when we're near the peak. We're not there yet. And then take a look at this here. This is from Rect Capital, one of his recent videos. Check him out on YouTube and also his Twitter. Shout out to him. But as you see, when you come up and have this first rejection, we had a 31% rejection back in 2020, 2021 bull market. So we can get these volatile rejections. Right now, we haven't had a 31% rejection. It's more of, I believe, like a close to 15% to be exact. It's about, 14.65% rejection. So could we see this come back down to a 30% correction, 31% like we've seen before? If that was something that was in the cards for Bitcoin and crypto, how much farther down will we go? If we did come down that far, 30% would take us all the way down to roughly 75,000. Now, would that shake a lot of people in the market out? Yes. Would that take a majority of this bullish engulfing candle from the upside away? Yes. But we don't see us going that far down. We could come down to the 80s range, mid 80s, potentially. Now, you got to pay attention to these levels too. The level to look at is around the 92 range. That's this purple line. If we fall below that, then we can see that mid to low 80 range. So just pay attention. Microstrategy is looking similar to Bitcoin. The extensions are not quite there yet, meaning there's a lot more room to the upside. And same thing, we see a gap here. Could we come down and fill this gap around the 280 to 300 range? That could be in the cards for MicroStrategy. We could just come back and retest this trend line before having a bump and run continuation. We closed at 364. MicroStrategy, the current time of this recording, is around 370. We'll see what we open with tomorrow at the start of the market. Michael Saylor is back in the news. What's he doing? He is publishing Bitcoin and crypto frameworks so that the United States can lead the global digital economy. And this is a pretty expansive framework, and he's not playing. He said that he actually would be, involved in some type of presidential cabinet if they were related to cryptocurrency. He's not trying to get into politics, but he could help guide the United States as a consultant on how to implement the Bitcoin digital reserve. Michael Saylor's putting in some work, and he's also printing more dots. Now, the interesting thing about this chart, he was putting blue dots or green dots on a different chart before, week after week. Here's an orange dot. So is it an ATM offer? Are you raising some capital? The capital raise, we'll see what the announcement is come tomorrow, but just know he's buying more Bitcoin. That's definitely going to come. More Bitcoin for MicroStrategy, and British Hodl's weighing in and saying that Michael Saylor has been on a podcast tear in the last 2 weeks, which he's repeatedly used specific words that are giving unconscious clues around the strategy for MicroStrategy going forward to acquire more Bitcoin. You must spend time listening and analyzing these podcasts to understand how the MicroStrategy strategy is about to pivot. The main goal is to keep the stock top of mind, and the strategy is being laid out, and it will never stay the same. So what's he really talking about? We did some deep diving. Michael Sullivan saying he thinks that, Hodl's point, just listening to a bunch of his videos and the True North chats would be the best way to learn about it. But here's his simple version, so shout out to Michael. The ATM actually reduces Saylor's leverage, which isn't a bad thing. They're just using it to directly buy more Bitcoin per dollar of their market cap. They could stand to have more leverage now, so they can pull more leverage to buy more Bitcoin because they got rid of some leverage. So I'm anticipating them do a ton more convertible bond offerings upcoming here this spring rather than ATM. So, they won't be selling off shares. So that's what, a lot of people are trying to hear. People are getting in their feelings about it, but, he's buying more Bitcoin. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Potentially other kinds of share issuances as well, but he's expecting much less ATM over the next few months, which is bullish. This is bullish, guys. No more selling shares from MicroStrategy to get more Bitcoin. They're just going to be doing convertible bond offerings, which is bullish for the MicroStrategy price around the clock. And with that, that's all I have for you today. Once again, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. If you guys like this content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate each and every one of you. And with that, I'm out.